Hi guys, welcome back to All the Builds. I am Rick, or Butts, or Fabio, whatever you know me as. And for this week, I wanted to go for a quick showcase of Galeforce builds. Galeforce can be done in by many different kinds of units. Most commonly, it's seen done by cavalry units because horses have the added bonus of being able to move one more step compared to other units. However, there's people who do Gale Force with infantry units, there's people who do it with armor units, and many people consider it a higher skill ceiling, higher skill cap type of offense strategy, since with Gale Force you will be able to kill, let's say, 4-5 units on the enemy team, and you might have to tank the remaining units. So what some people do is that they try to box up a ranged unit towards the end of the fight, or they just try and tank it. They leave up maybe a dancer, maybe a weaker unit, and that's how they go about their maps. Galeforce isn't something that you're gonna be bringing every time. However, some layouts will be vulnerable to Galeforce more so than others. There are some counters to Galeforce, such as Guard, for example, Special Fire, which will prevent the Galeforce timer from ticking down, so a Galeforce unit won't be able to attack such a unit first, but they will need to kill it later. There's also the chance that your Galeforce carry will have too much damage, and instead of hitting the enemy unit twice to proc their own Galeforce, they will kill it in one shot. So sometimes it is better to be running a Galeforce units with lower merges, which is kind of an oxymoron because I just said that Galeforce is a high skill strat, and it requires oftentimes low merge units. So it is both a starter strat and a very difficult strat. Let's see what I mean. Let's just go into the builds. First up, I have cavalry units. Cavalry units are very interesting because they run mostly a similar set. Here I have a parry with low merges at +2. What we want to do is we want to try and buff her speed before her attack, so that she doesn't one-shot the enemy unit. However, she also runs Heavy Blade. Her preference weapon makes it so that when she is damaged, she gets +4 into each stat. Fury allows her to damage herself. You will oftentimes utilize a Wings of Mercy Dancer, so you will try to proc a Lightning Trap and not heal from it. So that is why Fury and Desperation are run, to get your life lower, to buff your stats a little bit, and to help yourself doubling. It's also possible to run a parry at +0. The perfect IBs for her would be plus speed and minus HP. This parry, I think I forgot to put speed IBs on, but I'm sorry about that. One of the main partners for her is Eliwood. Eliwood is also a low investment unit. Blazing Durandal gives him +10 defense and +7 speed on initiation. Usually Galeforce units are run on Astra Season because it's harder to run Omega tanks on Astra Season, so you need to run these alternate strategy. Home Cavalry, they will buff each other, they will give each other +6 into both offensive stats. You could be running tactics on your heirs or your Nagas. If you're only running 2 cavalry units, you will be getting the effects from tactics. Darting Blow and Axe Breaker are really low investment skills. The maximum investment skill for cavalry units, for Galeforce units in general, would be attack speed solo, since you're gonna be up in the midst of the fight all on your own, so you will be able to benefit from both stats. And that's pretty much it. Blazing Durandal also gives WILDCARD and also accelerates his special, so he doesn't need to be running a heavy blade since he already has this effect, but he will need to run Quick Pulse. Next up, we have a very similar unit to Eliwood, and that would be Brave Roy. Brave Roy is the OG Blazing Durandal unit, so he's pretty much the same thing as Eliwood. Attack Smoke is a possible choice for your C skill. Other possible choices would be, for example, Savage Blow to lower the HP of the entire enemy team or as many enemy units as possible. Otherwise, you could be running Speed Smoke to allow your carries to double more easily. You could be running Defense Smoke since Galeforce is physical, and that's pretty much it. With Savage Blow, you would be getting twice the effect from it from both your attacks. With Smoke, so you would only be getting the effect once. So your mileage may vary. You need to really get used to the comp and find what works best for you. Another reason why Astra season is when Galeforce carries are run is because you would get plus 10 defense from your Nagas, and therefore you won't be as much at risk of being killed back on initiation. Legendary Eureka is a high-end version of these two units. She comes with Storm Sieglind, which gives her a special acceleration. That is just another option. Another legendary option would be Ephraim. Both of these heroes, they are legendary, so they are water and fire blessed respectively, which means that you would be able to use them on light or on Astra season, depending on whether it's fire or water season. So you're not going to be able to bless them, you're not going to be able to run them very reliably. However, since they are legendary banners and legendary banners are really good to pull on, they have been running for a long time, so it's very easily that you might have a few copies of each in your barracks without really noticing or pulling for them specifically. So instead of investing on maybe a free-to-play unit, a 3 and 4 star unit that you might not have, but you might have marriages for, you could just go for these legendary options. And finally, there is an option that has become available very recently, and that would be Legendary Leaf. Why would a bow unit? Why would a ranged unit be a Galeforce player? Well, Legendary Leaf has the ability to run both a Galeforce set with his Neuron Seal special and a vantage set, which means that he could snipe a melee unit, get danced by Legendary Azora, who is also a water hero, so as long as it's water season, you could be running both on Astra or light. And once you've sniped two melee units on the enemy team, well, you're gonna be low in HP thanks to attack res push. You would be triggering your brazen attack res. If you're unmerged, you would be taking 10 damage, so you would be at 75 HP, so your vantage would be active. So unless you have an HP boon on your leaf, don't put any merges on your leaf. Trust me, don't put any dragon flowers on him, unlike what I did because I'm an idiot, and just pair him up with the legendary Azora. The 5th hero would be the bonus hero. He can very easily with his dual phase brave bow snipe 2 melee units and vantage the other 4 or 3 if they have like a Ninja and someone that doesn't hit really hard. He doesn't really need to worry about it too much. That's a new option, and frankly I have really liked what I've seen from it. This combo was showcased on Mdoljo's channel at the beginning of the week, and it looked really powerful, to be honest. With the Legendary Azora set, I have chosen to showcase her with Chill Depth 3 and Hone Speed 4. They both come from Sue. If you don't have a Hone 4 skill, don't worry too much about it. You can just run aerobatics for movement, for mobility, and so on. Blaze Dance can be replaced by any other dance skill. I'm sorry, the cat is being loud. It will just ensure that you will get a +5 into each stat out of combat bonus. Next up, we have a couple options for dancers, which you could use on both. Let's say let me fix this. On both an armor and an infantry or a cavalry setup, both run Wings of Mercy, so they can jump in. Both regular Azora and Sylvia, they have really high speed, so they might be able to hit the opponent twice thanks to Flashing Blade and Galeforce themselves. So they would, you would go in with your first unit, you would attack, proc your Galeforce, drop your HP, your dancer would be able to jump in, attack an enemy unit, proc Galeforce themselves, and they would be able to sing or dance. This is an option to run Attack Smoke. With Sylvia, I have showcased her with Hone Speed 4, which would be good for some of your possible carries to give them extra speed, but it's not necessary. You could also run Attack Speed Bond. Since you're going to be Wings of Mercy in right next to your first Initiator, you would be able to proc Attack Speed Bond very easily. And that's really cool also because bond skills are not usually that good on AR offense. But in this case, you could be able to run it, and you won't be stealing any valuable seals from your other units. Swift Sparrow is another option for the A skill, or if you're fast enough, Flashing Blade 3 is good. Don't run Flashing Blade 4. You could run Flashing Blade 4, but just remember that you don't want to accidentally kill a unit before you can proc your own Galeforce. Alright, these are out of the way, and here I have a few options for infantry Galeforce units. The first one would be Raven. Raven has been really good for me on defense on AR. I really enjoy him. I really enjoy him with Galeforce that procs after one hit thanks to infantry pulse, but on offense you can just run him with Fury. Low speed defense is a high investment skill, it's not necessary. You could just run Desperation, but you're going to be fast enough to double anyway, so you could just run, let's say, Escape Route, let's say Wings of Mercy to follow up and not go in first. You could be running just a Chill, something like that. There are many valuable options. You could also run, instead of Flashing Blade, you could also run Heavy Blade. However, remember that Flashing Blade is only available on infantry units. It's not available on armors, it's not available on cavalry units, and it's not available on flying units. The only flying unit that has a built-in Flashing Blade would be Claire. I think that's what she's called. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, try not to hit too hard. Raven would do very well, for example, when paired with someone like Velouria. Velouria has the added bonus of giving you -2 to the cooldown of your Galeforce. She gives -2 cooldown to your special at the beginning of turn 1 to her ally supported unit, and she also gets -2 cooldown herself. So with Quick Pulse, she doesn't even need to run a heavy or flashing blade. She has extremely high speed naturally. She comes with 43 speed without merges, with only plus speed IVs. Without plus speed IVs, she is a little bit lower. Mine is at 40 speed, and she is minus speed, and I haven't been able to pull any merges for her. But she really enables many other options that you wouldn't normally consider. One of them would be, let's put her by the side. One would be Astrum. The cool thing about, well, I've taken Astrum as an example. You could really do this with everybody. Astrum is a unit I wanted to make a point about using because I don't feel that he is good in general. His special weapon Mercurius only gives +4 to each stat, and we can very easily give +6 to each stat to our units. But if you reduce his cooldown by 2 and you give him Heavy Blade and Slaying Edge, his cooldown will be 2 for Galeforce at the beginning of turn 1 and 4 in other turns. So he has really high attack. He's a Gen 4 unit. He has really high stats in general. He has 50 defense with barely any merges and 2 Anagas, so he will very easily be able to proc a Galeforce on his first hit. You just give him Fury, you might want to give him Desperation or Wings of Mercy. Desperation would mean that he would go in first, you would have to smite him in. Speed Smoke will allow Velouria to jump in, you will guarantee absolutely that she will double with Darting Blow as well, and you would be able to, well, do your Galeforce chain. So that is also an option. Another free unit that I would like to consider is Anna. Anna is somebody that we all have since she is a starter unit, and she is actually usable as more than just a score stick. With someone like a Sharina or a Alphonse, you would pretty much be forced to run them, but Sharina requires she pretty much needs to be next to another unit, and Alphonse really all he does is he has high HP, so he can run Panic Blow. But with Anna, you can actually use her offensively, and as long as you have her and another possible Galeforce units to blink in after, you would be able to run, let's say, a Dancer, so 3 units other than your mythic scoring heroes. So I like the option of running her, really. She is fun, she is usable, she is pretty safe, to be honest, and I really don't regret investing in her myself. And finally, we have 2 options for armor Galeforce users. Akaris has showcased them himself. There are a few possible builds for them, but in general the main thing is if you're running Galeforce armors, you're gonna be running Legendary Hector, because with Austia spells he gives -1 cooldown to everybody at the start of turn 1. And with Slaying Axe, his Galeforce becomes a 4 cooldown special, and thanks to Bolt Fighter, he would be able to get both special acceleration and the ability to double. Whereas Ephraim or any other lance user, they can run its curtains to reduce their own cooldown by another 2 points. So he would only really need to hit once in order to proc his Galeforce. Pretty much any armor Galeforce comp would be a Legendary Hector, or that's pretty much it, really, because you really want to reduce the cooldown of Galeforce on other users. You could be running, for example, if instead of Hector you have like a Surtur, you could give him a Slaying Axe as well, but and Bolt Fighter, but you won't be reducing the cooldown on another armor unit. So if you were still keeping your Winter Ephraim as a second unit, you would have to run Quick Impulse in his Seal slot, and you would be running Heavy Blade in his A slot in order to proc the Galeforce. Or instead of that, you would be running, let's say, another Bolt Fighter instead of Wings of Mercy. So there are a few options that you can play around. Galeforce is really not a solid strategy. Some people do really well with it, Armor Galeforce as well, but there is no one way that fits all. Really, you should try and look for things yourself, see what works for you, see what units you have in your barracks, and really see how things work. I haven't personally built a Galeforce comp myself. I have a parry that is built. I am still deciding what partner I could give her, but maybe in the following weeks I will find some way about it myself. If you have anything that you feel that I've missed, and I'm sure there's gonna be things that I've missed, since I'm not personally too well versed into Galeforce strats, please let me know in the comments. I would really be happy if you could give me more information. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.